Hello, in the first ever video of Commander's Keep, I'm going to talk about Atraxa, Praetor's Voice. Another amazing, top of the EDH board commander that is a four color, but we don't really care if it's four color because, got all the salty good colors like green for a bit of ramp, white for a bit of, instant dismissal, blue for counterspell, which, to be fair, I haven't really included any counterspells in this deck of my choice, which, you know, I decided to be a little bit different and make a Super Friends deck, mainly Planeswalkers, a few other salty things. And black, obviously extra removal, amazing. But, look at the keywords in that. Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink, and that tasty little bit at the bottom. At the beginning of your end step, proliferate. And proliferate in this current meta we're playing at the moment is very, very, very helpful. Now, and this particular one, I am making a Super Friends deck. So, needless to say, it's not so much doing poison, which I do have one lovely little planeswalker that does do poison stuff, but we'll get to that. So we'll just look for the deck and we'll go card by card, just to show you how I built it. And by the way, my name is Dan. I'm your host for the day. And yeah, let's carry on. So there's a lovely thing. I want a last look. Cool. Let's just go through the deck as we have it. Of course, we have to have the basics. We have to have the basic forests. Oh, I don't know. It's like I'd never truffled this. Now a little bit more interesting thing is a Spark Double. It is a 3 miscellaneous in a blue and could either be a creature or a planeswalker. Very important in a Super Friends deck that you can copy another planeswalker and play. However, it has that lovely little spicy bit that it has an additional counter on it, an additional loyalty. So we've already got planeswalker closer to the ultimates, which, to be fair, in Atraxa we're aiming to try and do as many ultimate things as possible. So let's charge on. Ooh, another salty piece. Doubling season. 4 miscellaneous and a green. An enchantment. If an effect would make one or more tokens you control, it puts twice that many into play. If an effect would place one or more counters on a permanent you control, it places twice that in an impermanent instead. So, interesting enough, the mechanic quite a lot of people sort of get stuck around regarding Planeswalkers and doubling season is that when you activate one of the loyalty abilities, that doesn't increase its counters by 2. No. It's only when it enters play. So if you have a planeswalker that had normally 4 loyalty when you play it, it would enter the play with 8 loyalty. So that's the important part of double season. A very, very key piece and combo synergy card in this deck. Probably one of the more expensive pieces in this deck because at one point these were going for tuppence and now they are a commander staple. So, always see if you can try and hold on to stuff that you think in the future, it's obviously another video, that you might think is a money card, because some money cards might be fluff and then they're eventually money, especially if they're played in certain synergies with other new cards coming out. So always pay attention to your cards meta is the best way to put it. A saucy little island, of course, ooh, a shipwreck marsh, a kind of interesting land that, it's only any good if you've got 2 of a land, but for the colours, we're doing a 4 colour, so as much synergy with colours and as much sort of, flexibility, the better. Like say 4 decks, colour decks, you have to be very heavy key on your land pieces. Right, let's see, another Stacey Plains. Ooh, another desert beach, like I said for the previous one, like of the shipwreck marsh. Let's drop them again. These sort of cards are any good if you have 2 more cards. It's alright at turn 1, you can just drop it and you're not really caring because, like, say, sometimes if you don't have that turn 1 soul ring, then you don't really need to worry as much. So you just put that tapped and you've got access to blue or black, or access to white or blue. Ooh, another one of my win conditions. Because, like I say, if you can't win for your Planeswalker stuff, why don't you put your opponents on a clock with the 7-drop sorcery approach to second sun? If approach was cast from your hand, and you've cast another spell approach to second sun, you win the game. Otherwise, you put 7 from the top and you gain 7 life. Great. Put your opponents in the pressure zone. Ooh, there's another, as we'll get to one of our first Planeswalkers, the Wandering Emperor. 2 miscellaneous double white, a flash, and you can activate our loyalty as soon as you come in. And yeah, That's a great loyalty thing. It's like, say, someone's got a saucy creature in play, you play this, exile that, and you gain 2 life. Can't really argue with that. With a doubling season now, it's already going to be bigger. It's going to be a 6 drop. So you have 6 loyalty and popping someone's creature, not a bad problem. Deal with that. Bit of removal. And like I say, that, synergistically speaking, with our command out, you could do the +1, that counts on that. However, when you're doing the ability from that and you have a doubling seizing out, which I remember happening, this would get 2 counters for every one of this with this. They'd only get the 1 counter from the loyalty ability for the Planeswalker. However, the +1 counter would become +2, so we have a doubling season. It was a very interesting game that I did that. I got this up to, I think it was a 20 power. And yeah, just dead after everyone with that. So, it's George. Ooh, there you go. A Telecule Iniquity Dominance. 2 miscellaneous double blue, 3/5 flyer. If you would prefer it twice instead. So, back to old commander again. So if she would cause a proliferation tract, it would happen twice with this guy. And like I say, he can basically makes himself indestructible because you remove some counters for miscellaneous or 2 blue fire extra mana, which isn't a pinch if you don't have the blue. You just pay 4 life, which, you know what, you want to have this indestructible, so this procs this. And this little game could cause you very interesting effects. And another Planeswalker, a Jason Memory Adept. 3 miscellaneous double blue, comes out below at 4, draw a card. Target player puts the top card of his own library in the bin, in the graveyard. Its 0 ability is quite funny. Target player puts 10 cards of his own library into the graveyard. I mean, it's not as effective as you would think in a commander deck, but, you know, a few times with this, it gets a little bit pressury, and, you know, always a good thing. Number 7, top ability. Any number of target players draw 20 cards, which, to be fair, if you've already milled them out and they've only got like 20 cards, you can cause them to lose the game. No win con, but, you know, just a little bit more. Plus, even in a pinch, you could do it to your own graveyard, say, if you wanted to have nicer things in the graveyard, because I have recursion spells, so that's not exactly a problem either way. Another Planeswalker, a Giant the Great-Hearted. 2 miscellaneous green-white. Creatures you control have vigilance. We don't have a lot of creatures in this deck, but, you know, still a good little Omni ability. It doesn't really cost or do anything. Its +1 gain 3 life. In a pinch, you need to gain some life. Good stuff. But the main reason why this is in here is the -2 is you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other Planeswalker you control. It's that bit that the main reason why we're doing that. But it also comes out as a beefy for 4 or 5. That's not a bad Planeswalker. Good trade-ups. There we go. Like I say, part of this deck is mostly trying to have removal and sort of staying sleep. Because like I say, we're trying to build a Planeswalkers up and we need to make sure those pesky opponent's creatures die. So we don't get wiped pretty quickly. So we'll use Killing Wave, one of our multi-removals that are running in this. It's X and a black. For each creature, its controller sacrifices unless he or she pays X life. So you crack that for 10 and say, well, do you want us paying 10 life per creature? And your opponents normally say no, and they wipe out their field. They might keep 1 or 2, but late game states, no one's really got enough life to pay for that, so everything just goes pop. Affects us too, but, you know, if we've got our commander out, why would we sack her? We'd pay 10 life ourselves and be like, yeah, it's got lifelink. We'll get that back quick enough. Another Wrath effect, Kaya's Wrath. 2 white, double black, sorcery, destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you control that would destroy this way, so a little bit of life gain as well as a removal. Like I say, we don't run a lot of creatures, but it's more the removal, 4-drop. I mean, we do get solid locks in some colours, so it's not the best of Wraths, but, you know, it's pretty reasonable. Back to the mana base, we've got a Flooded Grove, which is an attack miscellaneous, 2 mana pool, or pay a blue or green, and you get double green, double blue, or green blue, or yeah, so decent enough land. Temple Silence, we always love a good bit of scrying at the top, so it comes in tapped. Enters scry 1, white or black. Like I say, we need to have our colour sources. Another little bit of removal. A bit of Vindicate, a miscellaneous white-black sorcery destroy target permanent. Yeah, so some pesky permanent, whether it be a land, creature, enchantment, or anything else. Boom. And like I say, in this format, enchantments can be a bane of a life and are really hard to get rid of. At Command Tower, can't argue with that. Just about any monocolour. So let's say we're on 4 colours, so we basically need stuff like that. a Path of Sinister, kind of similar to that, but you know, enters tapped. You also, if you cast it, shares a creature with your commander type, you get scry one. I mean, not really going to get that second ability, but we're all just basically trying to pass the mana for that because it's 4 colors. Q, like I said, a bit of a recursion. So this one is Triumphant Reckoning, which is a 6 and 3 white. So a 9-drop sorcery, late game of course. Return all artifacts, enchantment, and planeswalker cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Like I say, you're not that bothered if your planeswalkers do die. And earlier I said you could mill yourself. Say you milled your own deck with Jace to make sure you had a lot of planeswalkers out. Proc this out, boom, all come back into play. Great piece of kit. In any other deck, it's not really functional, but this one, yes, totally. A bit of a cheap one. Kaya or Orzhov Usurper, miscellaneous white-black. And she comes out with 3 loyalty. Her +1 is exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life, at least one of those creatures with exile this way. So that's what we want, a little life gain. Also, we get some of those our 1-drop, say our tokens or, you know, hasters, anything like that. We get rid of that 1-drop permanent. It's gone. Exile for 1. Pretty decent. And our Nag 5 is that you deal damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. So, you know, late game, exile lots of stuff. Boom, there we go. Kill a player. More mana, Glacial Fortress, can't really argue with that. Comes in tapped once we control a plains or island, which to be fair will proc most of them. Oath of Teferi, another little interesting bit. An enchantment, which is a 3 miscellaneous white blue, and enters the play, and you get to exile a permanent. Say if our Pokemon's out, exile that, and then the end step comes back in. So for flicker effects and certain removal spells and stuff, it's really quite good. So you could technically have a planeswalker that was at 1 health or 1 loyalty. You could flicker out, comes back in full loyalty. So you know that's the interesting bit there. Or it could just do a flicker effect that's really good, but the main bit is you possibly don't want to do the flicker effect for your planeswalkers because you can't want them out, because the second ability of this is you may activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers twice a turn. Can't argue that. Very good. Removal itself just punks the thing. You could say bounce a permanent that has ETB effect, and you know, enter battlefield triggers are always amusing. So that's quite good. Facilitations for our planeswalkers. Ashiok, Nightmare's Weaver. Miscellaneous white, miscellaneous, what am I talking about? Miscellaneous blue-black, 3 loyalty when it comes in. Its +2 is exile top 3 cards of an opponent's library. It's not the mill aspect, so the second bit is the more important part here. -X, put a creature card, creature with convert mana cost X or less, X, no, what am I talking, X or less? X exile with Ashiok, Nightmare Weaver on the battlefield under control. It's a nightmare in addition to its color. So it's +2, making that 5. You then just keep going through an opponent's library, getting all the tasty things, and then bring them out yourself. And if you ever get to the top end, to be fair, you're only caring about these first 2 abilities. The bottom one, not so much bother. Exile all cards from opponent's hands and graveyards. That's for recursion strategies. That just sort of poops on them. So you know, you want to make sure recursion players aren't really getting the best value of this. You get the most value from this planeswalker yourself by doing the +2 and the neck X. You get some really tasty stuff for that. Let's carry on. Tamio, the Complicated Sage. And it's the interesting thing with complicated ones is that if you manage to pay the actual source color, it comes in with the same statutory loyalty. Otherwise, it comes in with 2 full loyalties. So, for example, you pay 2 green and pay some life for the green or blue, and then the blue, it comes out with 3 loyalty rather than 5. Now, if you had enough mana to pay the whole 5 cost, it comes out quite well. It comes out 5 loyalty. Its +1 is tap up to 1 target artifact creature. It doesn't untap during its owner's next untap step. That's brutal. You do that to someone's main creature. Say, for example, in our main pod that we play, a Kalia doesn't always sit to do its thing. Tries to do its swings. If you tap that, it's not doing anything for a turn. And to be fair, stopping that quickly is a great way to avoid death via dragon or angel, some nonsense. Because its neg X is exile target non-land permanent card with mana X value from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that token. That's very cool. So you could exile something in your bin and make a token copy of it. Very nice. Different strategies, not so valuable here, but yeah, it's a cool little planeswalker. More with a shutdown ability at the top there is. And we have Neg 7. Create a Tamiya's Notebook, a legendary colorless artifact. The spells cost two less to cast, and you can draw a card. It is good. It's not the best Tamiyo in here, but it is a nice little lockdown. We've got a few couple of Tamiyos in here. So like I say, we'll just charge on. Oh, that Chain Veil, very good. Very similar to Teferi's Oath of Teferi. This one allows you a second activation of Planeswalkers. However, it's put a little bit of pressure on yourself because you don't activate a Planeswalker, you get popped for 2. And, you know, your own stuff shouldn't pop you for 2. However, with this and Teferi's Oath of Teferi in play, you could possibly activate your Planeswalkers if you had enough mana to 3 times. So, yeah, good proc in those ultimates. That's the kind of key point why we run this Chain Veil. Nice little tasty card. Path to Exile. Doesn't need more explanation other than it's a white instant, exile target creature. Its controller may search as your rivalry for a basic land, put it in the battlefield and shuffle. However, great removal on spot on creatures, but on planes on your opponent's commanders, it's ultimate value because they get no plus side because it has to go to the command zone, so they don't even get the land. So that's what you want. Vexing Puzzle Box. This is one of the ones I just added for funsies, which comes out 3 miscellaneous, and it comes in, and whenever you roll 1 or more dice, put a number of charge counters on Vexing Puzzle Box equal to a result. So you can tap it, add a mana of any colour, great for a commander that's 3 colours, and then you roll a d20. And if you can remove 100 counters off this, you can search your library for an artifact, and I put that in play. So we've got a few artifacts, and that would be quite good, and especially with Atraxa out, we're going to get that d20 result to 100 quicker than you think. But you know, it's a mana rock. You can't argue a mana rock. Land, of course, we need obviously another ways to do it. So Temple Garden, which is a white and a green. Good old shock lands. You need them obviously early on, so you're not really that bothered about the life loss. Ruptured Spire for, you know, it's a different other land. It's another one you got like sort of tax for. You've got to pay 1 unless it pops. It will pop itself, but it comes into play tapped as well. So it's not a really good turn 1, maybe a turn 2 if you've got nothing to do, and you put that in. But all your mana colours, that's what you want. Broker's Confluence. This is one of our instants that is kind of like a bomb way to win the game itself. So you got 2 miscellaneous, a green, a white, and a blue. And you can choose 3. You can also choose the same mode more than once. So it's Proliferate. That's what we want. Target creature phases out, which to be fair, I've never really needed a second ability. It's not really what we're after. And it's counter target activate or trigger ability. So an activate or trigger ability we could stop in its tracks, but really we're aiming to 3 times Proliferate. Now, if we already have our flyer that makes duplications of Proliferate, we're basically proliferating, 6 times. Which, in a game like this, you could probably ultimate your a Planeswalker many times, and then you win the game purely by this great little combo piece. And here we go, our first Teferi himself in a card. It's Teferi Time Armor, a great shutdown card from miscellaneous white and a blue. Each opponent can only cast spells only as they could cast sorceries. So instant spells don't work if he's in play. Now, we can ignore that because we got a +1 until the next turn you can cast sorcery spells as though they have flash. So pop them in our opponent's front players. And as our other bit as well, it gets to return 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand, and you draw a card from neg 3. Comes out with 4, you do that, bounce 1. Your opponents can't really play any instants or sorceries in your turn. Have a wee laugh. Or you do +1, and you do cast in an opponent's turn. He's played a whole load of stuff, and for example, one of our other sorceries that said destroy all creatures, do it in his turn. It'd be quite funny. That's worked a few times, it's quite amusing. Great lockdown card. It's very much a threat on the table. You need to try and get rid of that as quick as possible if you're an opponent, but we want it to stay in play. Okay, this, for example, isn't an exact real card of this. This is just a proxy of it, and if you're in a pod with allowing proxies or whatnot, then totally. This one is obviously one of the original lands that is no what do you call it? No deficit. There's no deficit. It just comes into play. It's great, and it's a proxy. So if you're in a pod with your friends or whatnot, you're going to have certain cards that allow Or if you're a little bit richer, you can obviously buy the card yourself. But proxies are always good, especially if your players allow it. And it's not going for professional tournaments. Of course, if you were, I don't know if they do actually have Commander tournaments. Maybe that's the thing Wizards should get on. Another Planeswalker, Jace the Cunning Castaway, a miscellaneous double blue, and it comes out with 3 loyalty. And it has a +1 whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to player. This turn, draw a card, then discard a card. Pretty decent. Get a little siphon. Its -2 is create a 2/2 blue illusion token. Whenever this creature becomes target of spell, sacrifice it. Not the best of tokens, but it's a body to block this. And its -5 is you create 2 token copies of this, except they're not legendary. So, and they also make themselves, so you can make a whole load of castaways. Amusing. I've made the duplicates maybe happen a couple of times. It's kind of funny. You've just got a whole load of Jace Cunning castaways to deal with, and they're just making illusions on the spot. Amusing. Choice. So, like I said, we had proxies as a choice of Soul Ring. It's just been tarted up, and we've always got a lot of Soul Ring. It's turn 1 play it. You tap it for 2 colorless mana. Always a good one. A little bit, because like I said, we need to make sure we have all our colours. So that's City of Brass, which is a little bit painful to yourself. You pop yourself for 1 every time you use it, but mana of any colour, why argue? And in this format, 40 life, that's not a big letdown. Of course, more multicoloured mana, Exotic Orchard. There we go, another Wincon. Teferi, the Hero of Dominaria. 3 miscellaneous and a white blue. It comes out with 4 loyalty. Its +1 is draw a card at the beginning of your next end step. Untap up to 2 lands. Brilliant for cancel strategies. Opening up your cancel mana after you cast them. Can't argue with that. Its -3 puts a non-land permanent to its owner's library 3rd from the top. So it's not just bounce to the top, which is really annoying. It's bounce to the top. You've got to wait a couple of turns, even better. And its end bits, and that's why I said it's a win call. Its -8 is you gain Emblem whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent, and opponent controls. And to be fair, with doubling season and everything else, that's entirely possible to get that happen really quick. So you obviously want to make sure this dies if you're an opponent, and we want this to stay on the play as much as possible, especially with Atraxa. No, don't proliferate more. Right, okay, another one of our oaths. Oath of Vajani. A very nice cheap one. A green, white, legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature control. Like I said, we don't have a lot of creatures, so that's not the main thing that we'll worry about. The main bit we'll want this for is the secondary bit. It's Planeswalker spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So like I say, 4-drop Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Can't argue with that. Really good. It's partially why it's there. It's reduced that cast cost of those more expensive Planeswalkers. So we can play more in a turn. It's exactly what we want. This is what I was on about. One of the only sort of poison triggers I've got in here is Vraska's Betrayal Sting, which is a 4 miscellaneous black and a Phyrexian black. Like I said with the complicated, it normally comes out with 6 counters if you paid the full cast. Otherwise, it comes out with 4. And it has a lovely bit at the top, which is, well, I always love card draw. It says you draw a card and lose 1 life and proliferate for 0. It's -2. It's also defensive itself. It makes a treasure artifact of a target creature, and they add 1 mana of any colour. It loses all abilities and abilities, so you just make someone's commander into a treasure. I mean, you could sack it for the treasure, but it's still amusing. It's going to cost them more to get from the command zone, so defends itself quite well. And this is the bit where it's going to win con in itself. It's -9 is if target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference, and then we proliferate it. That's game. Really good. I've won with that particular bit itself. Obviously not you're aiming for that, but then Atraxa makes this happen quicker anyway. So you got that out, someone's gone. Over to Gideon. I already had that one. Over Gideon, which is 2 miscellaneous and white. Enters the battlefield, you get 2 white core ally tokens on the battlefield. And each player you control enters the battlefield with additional loyalty counter. Dan, that's why we're here. That's why we're caring about it. It also mails a wee defense for one of our planeswalkers, so we've got a wee blocker. Because, you know, we don't want our planeswalkers to die to like 1 powers, which can happen. But it's the additional loyalty bit at the bottom. It's the really important part. And it's an enchantment, so we can't really argue with that. Very good. Another one of my planeswalkers is Dakon Shadow Slayer. A white, blue, black. Dakon Shadow Slayer enters the battlefield with a number of loyalty counters onto him equal to the number of lands you control. So, it's very important to have that. Got a lot of lands out, he's pretty good. He could be okay, come out with 3 if he only had 3 land, which, yeah, early on, it's pretty decent. And its +1 is you get to Survey 2. Survey, very good, is you get to the top card of your library, you go, do you want to keep it here? No, put it in the bin. And you do it again. So that's quite good for itself, to get its +1. But the main point there is neg 3, exile target creature. And we got to have exile effects, because exile effects are the win. Because you can get them back from destroy, but exile is always the win. And its neg 6 is you may put an artifact from your hand or graveyard into the battlefield. We've got a few artifacts. Like I say, we've had Chainveil, that'd be really handy with this. And we'd pop that out, it's pretty good. I mean, it's sat play. I've never really had it sit around for long because you're trying to exile target creatures, and that's aiming where you're at. Dovin Ban, 2 miscellaneous and a white blue. Comes out with 3 loyalty. And its +1 is until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gets a neg 3, neg 0, and activated abilities can't be activated. It's amusing. The lockdown for an opponent's creature. Its neg 2 is you gain 2 life and draw a card. Always love drawing a card. And its neg 7 is when you get an emblem, your opponents can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap steps. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. We sort of pseudo winter robe effect. It's what we want. Jace the Perfected Mind. Another compilated Jace. Well, another compilated Planeswalker. I think we've had a few. We've had 3 so far. So 2 miscellaneous, a blue and a Phyrexian blue. Like I said, the compilated comes out with 5 loyalty if you can pay the 4. If you can only pay the 3 in the life, comes out with 3. Its +1 is until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gets neg 3, neg 0. Kind of like Dovin Ban, but not as important. Doesn't stop activated abilities. Its neg 2 is target player mills 3 cards. If that graveyard has more than 20 cards in it, you draw 3 cards. Otherwise, you draw a card. So, mill and draw, gotta love it. And its neg X is target player mills 3 times X cards. So, like I say, just mill an opponent out, we'll mill ourselves out. Like I say, with that recursion card, we don't entirely care. But that is a great way to put pressure on our opponent. Another pressure opponent. Another land. Oh, piles is falling over. So, just move that slightly out of the way. Okay, some more basic land. Ooh, there we go. Elspeth's Sun Nemesis, 2 miscellaneous white, double white. Comes up 5 loyalty. This is one of the planeswalkers that only negs itself. So up to 2 target creatures you control get up 2+2+0. 2+1, what am I on about? Till end of turn. Its neg 2 is create 2 white 1/1 human soldiers. Its neg 3 is gain 5 life. And if this dies, which it's gonna because it's only got negatives, you can escape for 6. 4 miscellaneous and double white, and you exile 4 other cards from your graveyard back in play again. So recursion planeswalker, just gain some life. I mean, it's decent, and it's a body. It creates, humans. Can't argue with this, Elspeth. And Oath of Nissa, very much one of our early legendary enchantments. So green on its own, legendary enchantment. When Oath of Nissa enters the battlefield, you'll get top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal creature, land, or planeswalker from amongst them, put in your hand. Put the rest of them on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may spend mana as though it would mana of any colour to cast planeswalker spells. So yeah, we're fixing our planeswalker spell casts. And we get to look for them. I mean, top 3 cards, maybe it's planeswalker. Who knows? And it stays out, so let's just cast all colours for that. Very good. Another special land, a Drowned Catacomb. Enters the battlefield tapped unless we control island or swamp, which is grand. Now a cool swamp. No basic special arts. Like I said, shiny forest, no special forest. Call of the Gatewatch, another one of our lookup spells. So it's a 2 miscellaneous and white. Search your library for a planeswalker card and reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your library. So pick one, put it in your hand. It's good for your strategy. I mean, you can throw off players by picking a less exciting planeswalker just to see what they do with it, and you have your win con in your hand, but very good. And Deadly Rollick, 3 miscellaneous and a black. Instant, if I have a commander out, which 9 times out of 10 I do, I can cast this without paying its cast cost. And you exile target creature. Gotta love that exile effects. Exile effects for the win. Everflowing Chalice is 0-drop artifact with a multi-kicker of 2, so enters the battlefield with 0, and then you multi-kick it for 2 to get 1 counter on it. Every time you kick it, put an extra counter on it, and you know, it's great with Atraxa because proliferate. Enough said. Deploy the Gatewatch. Like I say, we had a recursion, a card that brought the made them go to our hand. This is one that's going to make sure we try and get them from top of our library. So this is Deploy the Gatewatch. 4 miscellaneous and a double white. Sorcery, look at the top 7 cards of your library, put up to 2 Planeswalker cards from amongst them onto the battlefield, put the rest in your library in a random order. Imagine if you had 2 Planeswalkers, just boom, boom, there we go. We'll get our Jace the Mind Sculptor, and we'll get like a Gideon out, there we go, boom. Very good. Helps our strategy, of course. Liliana the Veil, a miscellaneous double black, comes out with 3 loyalty. Each player discards a card. Target player sacrifices 2 creature for -2, and it's -6. Separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of his or her choice, which is funny. Which, to be fair, if we got to choose their choice, that would be even better. I think we could. Swords Plowshare, always good removal. Especially if it's a commander, they don't even gain life. Urza assembles the Titans, the miscellaneous double white. It's a legendary saga. Oh, it's not a legendary saga, it's just a saga. It's +1 and scry 4, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If the Planeswalker's card reveals this way, put it in your hand. Very good. It's number 2, you may put a Planeswalker card with mana 6, value 6 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. Even better, we can play a Planeswalker without even paying for the mana. Brilliant. And you may activate, and it's number 3, you may activate the loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control twice this turn, rather than once. So, even as it sacks itself, we get to do Planeswalkers twice. So, that's another lookup card that gives us Planeswalkers. Good old Urza. And have a little bit of A, win con, B, sort of board wipe, situational, amazing card. The Ugin the Spirit Dragon, which is 8 miscellaneous mana. And so we can cast that with all colours, which is great. Its +2 is deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Its -X is where we normally play it, and it's normally just used as a board wipe late game. Exile each permanent with converted mana cost less or less as 1 or more colours, which is great. So say 6, all 6 drops are gone. They have a colour in them. So your rocks and swords and stuff, you know, it's pretty much, it does affect me too, but you know, I don't really care at that point. And its -10 is you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and put up to 7 target 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Great little bit there. Great card. Now a wee tasty island. A Ajani Unyielding, 4 miscellaneous white, green white. Comes out with 4 loyalty. It's top net +2. It's reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all non-land permanent cards revealed this late into your hand. The rest of the bottom in a random, in any order, not random order. What am I on about? It's -2. It's target creature, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. And its -9 is put 5 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, and 5 loyalty counters on each other Planeswalker control, which is what we want. A bit more of one of our ways to get more mana. Cultivate, 2 miscellaneous in green. Search your library for 2 basic lands, reveal those cards, put 1 in the battlefield, 1 in your hand. Needs, like say, we've got 4 colours, we need to get the mana. A bit of Spot On. Vraska's Contempt, 2 miscellaneous double black. Instant, exile target creature or Planeswalker, you gain 2 life. Enough said. Boom. And we all love those exile effects. Hinton Harbour. It's another wee source for our green blues in its battlefield unless you control a forest or island. This is one of the artifacts we were talking about. Ikamoon Gauntlet. So 2 miscellaneous in a blue. And it puts this ability onto our Planeswalkers. So Planeswalkers you control gain 0 to proliferate and -12 to take an extra turn after this one. And also we have this lovely bit at the bottom, which is quite kind of the more important bit. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a counter on target permanent. You put an additional counter on counter of that kind on that permanent. So we just keep targeting our Planeswalkers, proliferate, and you know, we'll get some mad effects going on with this. Definitely works well with Dakon as well. It's one of the things we would look for from a graveyard to put in play, especially if we nailed it well Jace. So great ways to get that out. Settle the Wreckage. 2 miscellaneous double white instant. Exile all attacking creatures that target player controls. Doesn't have to be us if it's being swung at. In a commander game, you could do that just to be amusing and try and help out our opponents. Maybe we alliance. That's always what happens in these games. That player searches his whole library for that many basic land cards, puts it on the battlefield tapped. And also it helps us for us because it's instant board wipe for attacking creatures, which, like I say, could be someone else who's getting attacked, so we save them. Maybe buy a little bit of their, like, leave me alone, I'll deal with that horrible guy sort of scenario. Always amusing this. Like I said, Gideon mentioned him earlier. 3 miscellaneous double white, 6 drops. Planeswalker. It's pretty tidy. Comes up with 6. It's a +2 during target opponent's next turn. Creatures that player controls attack Gideon in Fable. So that's amusing. Just force them to attack Gideon. And its -2 is destroy target tap creature. And until end of turn, you can make him a 6/6 human soldier that's still a planeswalker and prevent all damage to them. So, but we're mainly doing the +2 and the -2 just to force them to have tapped creatures and pop them. Here it goes. And one of our newer cards is Teferi's Talent, which is 3 miscellaneous double blue. Enchantment Aura, Enchant Planeswalker. Enchant Planeswalker now has -12. You get an emblem with you may activate low abilities on Planeswalkers you control at any player's turn. At any time you can cast an instant. So, activating our abilities instantly. That's brilliant. And it also has another bit at the bottom that says whenever you draw a card, you put a loyalty counter on Enchant Planeswalker. Busted stuff. For the new set, they need to go in. Very much works for your Atraxa Super Friend decks. And one of the few creatures that are actually in the deck, Hydro Crassus, purely for the value of drawing and gain life, but we'll explain that. So it's X plus a green-blue, and when you cast this spell, you gain half of X life and draw half of X cards. Round down each time, so you get a flying trample, and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. And it's flying and trample, can't argue with that. Plus, you can gain us life and get some cards. Plus, gets bigger every time you have a Atraxa out, so not a bad creature to put in for the limited that we have. And irrigated farmland, like I say, we need more on the land. It's a tapped land. I'm not exactly best on it, but it's got cycling, so it's partially why it's in. And Smothering Teeth, like I said, this is a great combo engine piece. This piece with a doubling season means two of them. Right, so it's just 3 miscellaneous and a white. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that payment will pay 2. If they don't, you create a colorless treasure token with sacrifice. It's an artifact, add 1 mana in any color. So, us getting mana quick, possibly not what the opponents want, but without this in the doubling season out, we were just laughing. Especially if opponents are forced to draw cards, which we can force them to do with Jace. Imagine the one that makes them draw 20 cards. Breeding Pool. Like I said, we need more green-blue points. It's one of the other shock lands. And it's battlefield tap unless you pay the 2 life, which is great, which obviously you need green-blue, especially because we're in a 4-color deck. Another Vraska, the Relic Seeker, 4 miscellaneous and a black-green. It comes out with 6 loyalty. Its +2 is create a 2/2 pirate token with menace. And its -3 is destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment. Create a colorless treasure token with sacrifice this artifact. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Which, to be fair, we get that and we destroy their thing. Its -10, if you can get it there, is target player's life total becomes 1, which is funny as. Another one of our oaths, Oath of Jace, 2 miscellaneous blue, legend enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards. It's alright. At the beginning of your upkeep, this is more important, but scry X, where X is the number of planeswalkers you control. So yeah, got 4 planeswalkers out, we're scrying 4. Includes our hand. And probably one of the more powerful, or most powerful Jace that we have is Jace the Mind Sculptor, which is 2 miscellaneous double blue. It comes out with 3 loyalty. It's +2 is to the top card of target player's library. You may put that card on the bottom of that player's library. Brilliant for fixing someone's turns. And its next is 0. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Brilliant stuff. Bit of brainstorming. And it's -1. It's return target creature to its owner's hand. Space. Someone's got 12 drop that just played it. You bounce it to their hand. Just not bad. And then we've got its win strategy, which is -12. Exile all cards from target player's library. Then that player shuffles his or her hand into the library. Very funny. Shaya, Voice of Plenty. One of our few creatures here to obviously give us and our Planeswalkers Hexproof. It's a 3 miscellaneous and a white, flying 3/4, and you can put a +1/+1 counter on all your creatures for 6. It doesn't involve it tapping as well, which you don't really have a lot of creatures, but it's the main point is you and Planeswalkers you control and other creatures you control have Hexproof. Can't argue with that. And this is probably one of my favourite drop this card. One of my favourite Planeswalkers that's in this deck. Yeah, banned in most formats. It's Oko, Thief of Crowns. A miscellaneous green and blue. 4-drop Planeswalker. Or 4 loyalty Planeswalker. Its +2 is create a food token. Nothing bad there, it's for +2. But it's +1. That's the important bit. That's the bit that gets people, and especially in my pods, very salty. Target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk with basic power and toughness of a 3/3. So that on a commander who doesn't have a sack source, their commander is a 3/3, and we just laugh really hard. So much. And its -5 is amazing because you could obviously make your food token with a +2, and then you +1 it, and then you -5, exchange control of target artifact or creature you control with target artifact creature opponent's controls with power 3 or less. So we make a food token, make their commander into an elk, and then we train the food token for the commander. I don't see a problem with that. Amazing stuff. Causes a lot of salty interactions in my pod. And because we need mana rocks, a Chromatic Lantern helps ourselves fixing our colours, so it's 3 miscellaneous. And it has a keyword ability that says lands you control have add mana of 1 in any colour, and it taps for mana itself, mana rock, and fix your mana. And here's one of our salty interactions we can do with this, especially since we've got our Planeswalkers that we don't entirely care about our lands. Or we have another combo here that actually stops all lands from dying. We'll get to that. It's Armageddon, so it's 3 miscellaneous and a white, and destroy all lands. The amount of times Armageddon's kicked off already in our pod is ridiculous. There's at least 4 decks that are running destroy all lands, so nasty card. And here's another one of our look-up from Planeswalkers, Ignite the Beacon, which is 4 miscellaneous and a white. And you search our library for up to 2 Planeswalkers cards, reveal them, put them in our hand, and shuffle your library. You can do that in an opponent's end space, and then look at our Planeswalker playing our turn. Great stuff. Another little bit of too much there. Another little bit of removal here, and enchantment. So Elspeth Conquers Death, which is 3 miscellaneous and double white, and its number 1 ability part of its saga is exile target permanent opponent controls with convert mana cost 3 or greater. So get rid of big things, or anything that's a 3 cost or greater, which can be quite for a lot of things. Its number 2 is non-creature spells your opponents control. Your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast until your next turn, which is great. Stop them, slow them down. And the bottom ability is great for us. Return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter or a loyalty counter. So great, got planeswalkers back, bigger, and we've dealt with their stuff. Great stuff. A bit of spot on. It's Putrefy, a miscellaneous green black instant destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated, so that's quite good. That's what we need. Another bit of spot on. A bit of Beast Within deals with pretty much everything, including lands. 2 miscellaneous and a green. Destroy target permanent. Its controller puts a 3/3 beast token on the battlefield. So I don't care if they get a beast. There's the same with Oko. You don't care if they get an elk. You're locking something down that could have been a 12 power for a 3 power. This is great spot on, and it removes their lands as well. So they're probably not going to be happy having no lands and a beast. And have a little bit of wing corner ones. Soren Markov, 3 miscellaneous, triple black. It's a 4-drop planeswalker. It has its +2, deals 2 damage to target creature or player, you gain 2 life. Its -3, which is the most powerful part of this, is -3, target opponent's life total becomes 10. In a commander game of 40 life, and their life total becomes 10 is a bit of a pressure spot on. It's exactly what we want, especially if they made us angry when we're playing. That's kind of where we're at that point. So, and it's also its top ability is you control -7, control target player during that player's next turn. Great card. But the second ability is where we're at. And like I said, I had another Tamio. Tamio, the Field Researcher, miscellaneous green, white, blue. Its plus one is choose up to 2 target creatures until your next turn. Whenever either of those creatures deal combat damage, you draw a card. Its neg 2 is tap up to 2 target non-land permanents they don't control during their opponent's next untap step. Its neg 7 is draw 3 cards, you gain an emblem, you can make cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana costs. Broken. The neg 7 for that one's broken, which to be fair, players in my pod are very much determined to murder this. So I don't get the 7 value, because imagine, Planeswalkers for nothing. Lol. I have a bit of ramp, a bit of growth spiraling, a instant green blue. Draw a card, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Can't argue with that. You get draw a card and you get put another land out. That's where you get faster Atraxa, faster top planeswalkers, exactly what we want. And this is the card I was talking about when I was mentioning Armageddon. This is the Elspeth Knight Errant. So you pay 2 miscellaneous and double white to put a 4 loyalty planeswalker, the first Elspeth that came out. And you put a plus 1 is put a white 1/1 white soldier token on the battlefield. Not bad. Its other plus 1 is target creature but gets a +3/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. You put that on a soldier, it's a 4 power. It's quite funny. And this is the bit that works great with Armageddon. It's a one-sided Armageddon, really. Is it's negate. You gain an emblem with artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and lands you control are indestructible. And then we have Armageddon. So we just laugh because all our stuff stays, their stuff goes. Which is great. I have had that happen as well. And then I think I've also, my next card after that was Approach the Second Sun, so they had no chance to deal with it. Okay, and then we have Oath of Liliana, which is another one of our oaths, because like I say, we're going for all the oaths. So it's 2 miscellaneous and a black, and when entity enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Say if they've got only the commander, that's sacking itself. Or they played a big creature, it dies. And it also has this other little bit at the bottom. At the beginning of each end step, if a planeswalker enters the battlefield under your control this turn, you put a 2/2 black zombie token on the battlefield. That would double season 2 zombies. We're just getting ultimate value with that. And this is a removal and helps us get some creatures to block up the planeswalkers. Can't argue with that. We have Teferi, who slows the sunset. Not as powerful as the other 2 forms, but it's quite a good one. So it's 2 miscellaneous and a white blue. Its plus 1 is choose up to 1 target artifact or 1 target creature, and up to 1 target land. Untap the chosen permanents you control, tap the chosen permanents you don't control, gain 2 life. Pretty solid. Tap down opponent's stuff to smack them. And it's neg 2. Let's look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them in your hand and the rest of the bottom in the library in a random order. Pretty good, can't argue with that. Its neg 7 is the bit that's the funny part. You get an emblem untap all your permanents you control during each opponent's untap step. You draw a card during each opponent's draw step. That's hilarious. So you're basically getting a pseudo turn in your opponent's turn. And especially if we had the special ability of Teferi that we can activate our Planeswalker's abilities. The Planeswalker's abilities of the other Planeswalker in someone else's turn, we're just laughing. We could activate Jason in their turn, bounce a card. We could mill them in the wrong turn. We could do lots of things with that. Quite amusing. A bit more of the land fixing. How I found another shock land. We're basically running all the shock lands for this particular call set. This is a white blue one. How fun. A basic land. I always love a good island. One of our more interesting lines, lands, is a gemstone mine. So it enters with 3 mining counters on it. You tap it, you remove a mining counter, add a mana of any colour. There are no mining counters on it, sacrifice it. We're not really that worried because we have Atraxa out. We're going to proliferate our mining counters. We're never really going to lose this card. Bit of a watery grave. Got to get those extra sort of blue-black fixings and have shock land, like I said. You got a Dreamroot Cascade, which is only enters the battlefield unless you control 2 or more lands. It's taps green blue for help for that. We've got a Woodland Cemetery, obviously fixing our black green sources. Enters the battlefield unless you control a swamp or forest, which I'm going to affect. A genuine another tap lands, which is Arcane Sanctum, which enters as one of our 3 colour lands, like the 3 ones, which is white, blue, and black. Like I say, we need name for the fixing, so not a bad thing. Enters taps. Great turn 1 play, really. Just tapped. Cool. Temple of Mastery, another one of our Scry lands. Enters the battlefield tap 1, so it's fixing our green-blue. So we're trying to avoid running tap lands, but for the Scry ability, you can't really argue with that. And it's fixing. Like I said, another one of our Shocklands, a Godless Shrine, a White Black, and in the battlefield, pay to life or don't pay to life. And our last is a basic Plains. Well, so that's our Atraxa Super Friends deck. I hope you enjoyed listening, and if you've got any suggestions or sort of upgrades or regarding that you think that we need to include, I mean, I do think there's a few cards I could get for getting more Planeswalkers out, or could change out some of the Planeswalkers. But any suggestions or comments or whatnot, feel free to send them to me. I've been your host today, Daniel, and you have a nice day, everyone, and peace out. Shuffle up as well. Go on.